ready to go. No way, we're not showing up, but we're gonna go ahead. I think. Rose, can you see us now? I know you're driving, so maybe not.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Like, don't look. Okay. Okay, we are calling the Park Advisory Board, City of Philomath meeting.
You got the hammer.
Yeah.
Very official. That's not the official name.
Okay.
There you go.
Larry Sleeman is absent. Yvonne McMillan is serving as the chair this evening. Rose Bricker is online currently, but is trying to make it in person. Owen Cass is here, Lindy Young, Tyler Pellet, and Scott Austin. Okay. You're up, Yvonne. Okay. Any approval or approval of minutes? Any changes? Oh, you missed one.
I didn't see any changes.
Wait, go back.
Staff present.
You're on the minutes.
Oh, I do that every time.
That's okay.
In public comments.
Oh,
Public
yeah.
comments first.
Would you like to come up and sit so we can pick you up on the sound? Otherwise, we won't pick you up on the meeting. Is that all right with you? Okay. And can you state your name for me for the record?
My name is Kathy Berry,
Okay.
longtime resident of Philomath. And for those of you who follow social media, I was the prickly one about the Paul Cochran Memorial Park. My son, Dustin, had the flag, and we respectfully put the flag up and took it down on Memorial Day at the park. I was very disappointed that the city of Philomath did not have a flag up at the park on Memorial Day. I do understand the park is not complete, has not had a official grand opening, but it is a functional park. It is being used by the public, so I still felt like a flag at a memorial park was the right thing to do. However, couple things that I do want to bring up is the AstroTurf was a great idea until I realized a couple things about it. Is one, it is extremely hot on hot days. That particular day was only like 74 degrees. My granddaughter came running back to put her shoes on because the AstroTurf was hot, not the concrete, but the AstroTurf was hot. I also have AstroTurf in my backyard for my dog. My concern is I realize there, again, is a sign that says, you know, no dogs in the park. But it's going to have to be cleaned. I mean, yeah, you don't have to mow it, you don't have to water it and stuff, but part of the maintenance of that park is that AstroTurf is going to have to be cleaned for sanitary reasons. Just letting a dog pee on it is going to be a problem. So, and I know that happens. I've seen it happen. And I heard that finances, number of people, there's a lot of projects going on. This all goes through the Public Works Department. They have a ton of projects going on right now. The parks are kind of at the back burner of that. So I would like to make a recommendation that you guys can throw around and stuff, is maybe consider an Adopt a Park program, kind of like the Adopt a Highway program. I'm a part of a four-wheel drive organization, and we do the section of Highway 34 from the Y 2 miles west here in Philomath. And we could do something like that where there's a contact person, and maybe it can be like a group of neighbors around the park that every so many times a year, they do the maintenance on the park, but they contact Gary at Public Works. And if you have to have, because like we have to sign releases to do the highway cleanup, maybe you have to have somebody sign a release to do a park cleanup. But that way, it kind of takes that burden off the city. You could have a list of needed chores. If the committee or the group of people that is sponsoring that park decides maybe it needs bark mulch, maybe it needs gravel, then they would contact Gary ahead of time to have maybe that delivered so that they can spread it and do what needs to be done. And then just deciding maybe the number of times a year that they would need to monitor that park, to have their group name publicized with a sign at that park. This park is maintained by such and such organization.
That's a good idea.
So I just wanted to present that because I understand that it's spread pretty thin and getting things done isn't always, you know, it just takes some of the red tape out of it. That was my suggestion.
That's good.
Well, thank you. We're actually going to be talking about volunteers in parks, and kind of this goes nicely with that topic. So we appreciate you coming and sharing. Thank you very much.
Are you a neighbor who lives right there?
I do. I live
Just, I'm
3 doors down from the park, yes.
Okay.
And it actually had a little bit of, and maybe that was why I was a little prickly in my post. I apologize for that. My husband was looking forward to that park. Unfortunately, he did not live long enough to see it come to fruition, but he was a Vietnam veteran. And although he survived Vietnam, some of his friends did not. So he was very much looking forward to this park. So I've kind of, because we do live just a couple doors down, you know, taken an interest in the park. So.
Well, we appreciate that. Having neighbors who are looking out for the park is very important. And just so you know, I was going to bring it up later, but I can bring it up now because so I did contact the public works director about the flag. You know, what happened, what was the situation, and I know that you had talked last month about Rotary coordinating, and it sounds like it was just a Rotary went to pick up flags. There was like flags short in the pile. They'd been placed somewhere else. People that were there could not find them. So I guess it was some kind of a situation like that but they've identified it, and I think you've corrected it. Rotary you're on board
We have
now.
enough flags, except
Yeah.
the flag that should have been up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't just be put up by just anybody because there's a certain way to do that.
Right.
And we would have done it if it had been available, but it wasn't available.
Yeah,
And
so we have
that's why it
fixed
wasn't
that. Yes.
And I also understand that the plan, I guess, was to leave flags up because they have the lights, but the lights are not functioning yet.
Oh,
So,
The flags won't be left up because when a survey was done in the neighborhood, a majority of the neighbors did ask that if that park was going to be put there and flagpoles were going to be put, that the flags would not remain up. They don't want to listen to them. And so that was before I got here that determination was
it's
made.
the duct tape on the
Oh,
ropes.
There you go, to make the noise. Yeah. So even the ropes, right? So that's the plan as of now, is that during events, or if there is something like former Mayor Neiman, I know plans to have some events there, that they'll kind of go do the event, raise the flags, and remove them. So I think there's going to be some coordination with Public Works and Rotary to try to figure out how to best do that. But the intention is, no, it hasn't officially been dedicated, but it is a park and it's substantially there, and we consider it as our memorial park. And so the flags will be up in the future.
Is there any plan on Flag Day, June 14th?
I would imagine the flags will go up. The other flags would. I don't know if there's a plan for an event necessarily, but what I have heard from Public Works is that there is a plan now for how the flags will be put up on the days when they should be put up. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
are you a member of Strawberry Hill?
I am.
Okay, I joined them when I first got my Jeep like 24 years ago.
I wondered if.
We're just, went on a few runs with you guys.
Yes.
Yes, well, not Jeep, but four-wheel, Strawberry Hill, four-wheel drive, yeah.
Oh. Well, thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
A Bronco.
Hi, Rose.
Yes, hello.
Okay.
Okay, I'm on
We
the
need to
right
know
page
those
now,
things.
so now we'll do approval of minutes.
Yeah, I did read them and I didn't see anything that was amiss.
Any changes or corrections? All right, let's move on to business.
Let's do a motion to approve
Okay.
the minutes.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, now vote. It's the
Now,
only thing you have to vote on.
okay, how many vote approve?
Aye.
Any against?
You're great. We are pretty.
Excuse me.
Okay, now moving on to the business. Let Chelsea handle that.
Yeah, so, music in the park, I just wanted to touch base, we're not having a meeting in July. So I don't know if it's too soon, but if anyone knows that they will be available, I put, little flyers on there for reference on the dates
Oh, for July?
for June and July. If anyone that wants to now, say that they will commit to that, great. If not, I can send out an email closer to that, but at least June, if we could try to get June planned, it would be good. I will plan, I think that I am here. Let me double check before I say that. For the 20th, so,
That's the Thursday, right?
yeah, so I should be here June 20th.
I can sign up for the 30th.
I can also do the 30th.
That's Thursday.
I can do the 20th.
Who said that, Scott?
I think I'll be there on the 20th. I can do the Thursdays, but I'm not certain about the Sundays yet. I have to find out.
Okay. I do also have shirts that you will see right there before you leave, if you wanna pick through anyone who doesn't have a shirt.
Oh.
See if there's a shirt there. If not, you can let me know and I can order another size if there's not a good size for you. So Lindy, maybe on the 20th?
20th, okay.
And
Yeah.
I should be there too. And
You
thanks
want-
for covering for me.
You're welcome. Of course, I was holding the
On the
microphone.
30th,
Yeah,
right?
couldn't hear
No,
the
I'll
fact-
be in Vegas on the 30th.
Are you guys here?
No, we're family traditions.
Oh, well.
I mean, I could catch a plane back. But probably not.
Your last.
20th, I think I will try to be that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Sundays, but I can find out.
Very nice. Okay. That's good right now. I can send out an email. I'll just make myself a note, to send an email as we, in like the beginning of July. And see what everyone's July looks like, if that works for
Okay,
people.
thank you. Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then Larry, if he comes in and says he wants to come in the morning. Okay.
He goes to those, doesn't he?
He does. I think he kind of expressed, like, maybe, I don't know if he said that. I feel like he said something about that, but he'll catch up with us next time. I'm not sure what, exactly said. I remember him writing something to us about that. So that's pretty much it, unless anyone has any feedback. I know the, sandwich board is continued to be an issue. Apologies. One of our counselors, I did CC him in an email recently, but I don't think he brought it back on Sunday. I don't think it was there.
We didn't see it then.
So I do know where it is, but
Okay.
it's MIA. I'll try to get it back for the Thursday, concert in, well, this month, so.
So
I'll try to get it back.
on that, the last day of the, whatever day that was that music, it was very windy that evening. It was a bit cool,
Yeah,
but there was quite a big crowd, and you know,
Okay.
people come and go. And they played the music right to the very end.
oh, good.
But towards the end, people were drifting away, drifting away, drifting away. So
Yeah.
pretty soon there was just a couple of groups of people,
Okay.
you know. But I think everybody enjoyed it, and
Good.
they did play it right to the very end.
All right.
They usually do. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that was just the middle school.
No, this was the marimba people.
Oh,
This
okay.
middle school was before, or the middle school was
Yeah, I'll
before
talk to you about that after.
I told some people about it and they liked it. I didn't care
Good.
for it very
Good.
much.
Yeah, it's not your kind of music.
Well, I just forgot about it until the very end.
Yeah.
I made it for like the last song.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, that's okay. You made it for a little bit.
I didn't see the people I invited, but.
All right, so yeah, I think everything else so far, it seems like it's going good with that, so. Okay, we're good on that one. Volunteers in the park, so as I was saying to Kathy, who spoke, I did talk a little bit to staff and, you know, at this time, I mean, having an adopt a park program could work. The city, we're really at our threshold for how we can have volunteers, and I think we're set up well. It's just gonna be a matter of does anyone want to get the word out that this needs to happen, or how would we structure that? So currently what we've done is, like sometimes a church or a bigger organization will have big work groups, and they provide like a certificate of liability insurance. Rather than just signing our waivers, because actually for big groups, that's probably easier than them trying to track everyone, sign waivers, do all of that. So we have had groups do that, which works pretty well, especially if they're under a nonprofit or a church or something. It's pretty easy for them to do. Or, you know, if individual people wanted to get together in a group, we do just have like the waivers that you sign, volunteer waiver. And currently, if someone wanted to do that, if, you know, you all said we want to go work on, you know, City Park, I would say, okay, here's the volunteer waivers. So I need you to fill this out. And I'd send you to Gary, and Gary would talk to you about the project and the, you know, like again, like if there were like, we were really interested in spreading bark. Do they have bark budgeted? Can they, you know, coordinate that? I think that, you know, it always gets into, it's the over volunteering when staff isn't adequate to handle volunteers. So volunteers are great, but if it's like all of a sudden there's so many people trying to do these projects that Gary can't do his other job, that's where you can run into issues. We don't have that currently, and if we did get to that point, we'd probably just need to assess, like, is this volunteerism helping us to an adequate level to like have more people to help you know, work on those. And I think as cities grow, that's where they, you know, decide. But at this point, I think you know, like Rose's idea, it's kind of similar to this. You know, just getting the word out somehow. If you as a park board wanted to kind of work on a little messaging or something that you think you'd like to put out, you know, the city can help put it out, like on, you know, the park advisory board is seeing if there are any community members interested that, you know, have an affinity for a certain park to kind of get together and help out. You know, in today's world, it is hard. We had people used to really volunteer and do a lot of this work. I think now our lives are so busy with just everything, the world and technology, that it's not as commonplace, you know, like Rose, you were saying, like a couple people moved away or passed away. And then where are those people that kind of replace those people? And that's what we're starting to see, is just that. So yeah, trying to find those people that are interested, I think can work out. And then when Gary's actually not here, but I spoke to Kevin, but I think a good thing to do with Public Works would just be to talk to them about kind of making those lists. Like maybe, you know, at the beginning, this time of the year or in the spring, like do an assessment of all of the parks, see where you're at, see what projects you have, so that when people are coming forward, or even saying like, hey, park advisory board, you know, City Park really needs some help having this bark spread. Is there anyone that wants to do it? And it's good messaging that you can put out as a board, because you're community members and it's coming from you. And then, you know, I think that might be a good way to have something for people, because what you don't want to have is when someone does come forward and say, I want help, but they're not everyone comes forward with a project. Some people do. Some people come forward and say, I want to tear out this ivy right here, and that's great. But some people just want to help and they need suggestions. So we'll just be working with Public Works on trying to see if they, you know, are able to kind of, if they don't already, but if they can have those lists. And then maybe we'll work on this like in the next several months, you know, just as we can, just kind of coming up with some messaging.
Who would contact? Is it Gary then?
Yeah, typically it's Gary. So I oversee the risk part of it, the volunteer aspect of someone volunteering, but Gary really is overseeing the, you know, what do you want to do? Let's take a look.
Would you work with him, or would you want one of us to work with him?
Oh, well, I can work with the park board. So I think like what I foresee is that it would be nice if you kind of had a message, or at least that you approved it. So I can make something and say, bring it back to a meeting and say, do you like this message? Do you think this is a good message to put out to the community? And maybe it really is just a message of not, we're looking for volunteers, because we don't have an actual volunteer program here, but it's more about saying, if you're interested in volunteerism, there may be things in the parks that you could do. The parks could use your help, things like that, where it's like a messaging that's maybe just, you know, and sometimes people just need to know that, you know, if they don't know that you need help, sometimes, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So, yeah, so that was kind of my idea on how to, what we talked about last time and how to move forward.
So in the past, the little parks, what's the one? Yeah, Triangle and Pioneer, those little ones. And particularly is it Triangle Park that has the swings? Yeah. I remember some years ago, somebody was saying that it really needed help to keep the grass cut or something like that. I think that nobody was really doing that, and although there were neighborhood kids playing there, it wasn't really being maintained. Kind of sporadically, maybe by the neighbors. Now, so that's, are you saying then we actually really don't want that? We'd rather have the park or the city and the Parks Board kind of monitoring sort of who is actually doing the maintenance, is that right?
Well, I mean, the city doesn't really want people going into a park with a lawnmower mowing.
Yeah,
That's,
okay.
Because that's not really, and I do think Public Works, they have a schedule, they do keep up on those things.
Okay.
It doesn't always get done at the rate that
Yeah.
people, but they do, they have a schedule for going to parks and getting them mowed, and they rotate. So I don't really think things like that are an issue. I think it's more, like Kathy was saying, if there's a need for mulch, like at the beds, that you see when you come in, like special projects, right, beautification, improvement thing, not the actual just base maintenance. I think Public Works does a good job of that. We are again trying to have increase our seasonal worker base, which will help us with that. So, I think those things are hopefully getting done,
Okay.
But the reality is that the parks aren't always going to be freshly mowed, and they're just not. We don't have, even Corvallis, you go into Corvallis and you really start looking around, and there are parks that they're really in the public eye, and they keep those, but you go around to the other ones and you look at their medians and their roads, and so it's not just us, it's really everywhere that
Capacity.
has,
So I have another particular question, and that is, I was at the Cochrane Park yesterday, but I didn't realize there were no dogs allowed in the park. Is there a sign up?
there are signs about not being on the play area, no dogs on the play area.
Because my daughter, we brought her dog along. She was on a leash, of course, and I didn't realize that. But and I also noticed that it's a brand new park, and there's a lot of new plants and things. But there are also some new weeds that are kind of bigger than the plants that were planted. And I was thinking, it wouldn't take me very long to just take them out.
Yeah,
Would you mind if I go and do that?
I don't know what you're doing in the park when you're in the park, People pick things when they're in the park. What do you do?
Would I have to?
Oh, go ahead.
What would I have to ask Gary in order to do that? Permission to do that?
I'm guessing that I would figure you're just picking something.
I'm not going to take mechanical
Yeah,
machinery.
And don't get hurt.
Yeah,
I
don't get it.
will not get hurt. I'm going to take hand tools and a bucket, and I will dig my normal weeds out, because they are getting bigger than the plants that were planted, and they don't look very nice.
Yeah, I have a question about equipment use.
Yes.
So, it requires equipment, so a lot of times some people might expect the city to supply, if you're mulching, shovels and wheelbarrows, or you might be pruning saws, and that can be expensive. But is there sort of guidance on what bring your own tools is allowable? Bring your own favorite gloves, or maybe bring your own favorite weed trowel. But is there a cutoff? Okay, don't bring your riding lawnmower over.
Yeah, and I think if you worked with Gary, that he's got a pretty good idea. We're not into people doing things generally with power tools, unless it's someone specifically that, if it's someone who's a contractor who's volunteering and has that coverage. That may be a different story, but generally, and we don't have additional tools. We just don't have that capacity right now, so it does rely on people. Again, if you're getting all together, it's probably going to be who has shovels. But he's got that down pretty well. He can explain that to people who are interested in doing those kinds of projects. So,
Probably 1,000 underused shovels and wheelbarrows in this.
I went to Willamette Park with the disc golf club, and there 20 wheelbarrows showed up. There was a guy running a weed eater the whole time, but he had all his gear on. I don't know if they got permission.
who knows, you know? We can't keep track of everything that happens on city property, so who knows, but.
Yeah, and it's not really worth the city to, supply tools because they go through wear and tear very quickly.
They do.
If they bring their own tools, they take better care of it.
Right,
Right.
right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Very true.
Mhm.
I know that from the garden, so.
Yeah.
I wonder if a way to kind of roll out the individual adopting of parks would be to create an adopt the parks group that travels to the different parks and does those special projects or those maintenance. Really kind of weekly stuff that happens
right.
all the time, but like spreading mulch, pulling
Like maybe
all the
park.
ivy that's up at
Well,
one on the hill. What's that park called?
Oh,
Thank you. So like
the
rotate to different parks,
Mhm.
do special tasks, and then see how it kind of feeds into itself. And then maybe we'll have individuals who will adopt individual parks.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking like having even just a booth at the farmer's market and trying to recruit people there.
Mhm. Yeah.
And part of that group could be subgroups like churches or nonprofits.
Rotary.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep the conversation going on that and just see what we can do to.
I think that's a good idea, and adopt a park in some fashion.
Yeah, because people want to help. I think what you were saying.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to tell them the task, and
Right.
they will go and do the task.
Right. Right.
And so while we're still talking about parks, is there going to be a park made in Mill Pond?
Eventually, yes, there's a plan to have that done as they build out the subdivision.
And the city would be responsible for taking care of that park?
Yes, the developer will build the park and then
And it's gonna have a lake in it?
become a
or
city
pond
park.
or something?
No, it's kind of a detention area, so it may fill up
Like
a
the
little
one
bit.
up here? Up on that
Yeah,
hill?
well, it'll just fill up a little bit in the winter months and then kind of dry out. That's
Is
the
there a
intention.
danger of kids getting into that water?
We went through all that. We had that. We have had the plans. We
Yeah.
did extensively
It'll
talk
be
about that
fenced.
here, and it's gone to planning commission, and
Mm.
yeah, it's gone through the whole full approval process with the council and everything. So
So the What's Up canopy could maybe be taken to farmer's market. Once we had this in place of trying to gather people or groups that want to do.
And recruit
volunteer.
people. No,
so
like
we
once a month
have
project.
yeah
People get together.
we have a standing table the city does at the farmers market. So we have we have kind of a sign up at the council.
Oh, yeah.
So we can look at that at our next meeting and see if we're ready for you to maybe, several of you could take, I'll pencil you in on a date or two on that. And then we can
We'd be
check
there
in.
with the city council person.
Maybe,
Or in
like
lieu of.
that would be fine too, or in lieu of, either way.
Okay, with something special that would catch people's attention.
They don't always, but they usually have the canopy put up, the What's Up Full Month
We would
canopy.
decorate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Do you
Well,
think it'd be worthwhile to have Gary meet with us to have that conversation?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
do you
gonna
feel like
talk to
you
him
can-
first
Okay.
because he has not had a chance to have this conversation. He's traveling at the moment, and so I'm gonna give him ease him into it a little bit. But yes, I'm gonna touch base with him when he gets back.
And you want to start writing a little message for next time? You do a lot, but I don't, is there anybody here that might want to start working on a message that?
Yeah. I got a subscription on ChatGPT 4, so.
Nice,
Perfect.
nice.
Find one for next meeting?
Yeah, I've some other thoughts, but yeah, that can be part of it.
And bring your other thoughts. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Do you have an email list for people? Because I know that's a big part, is just having a specific like volunteer email list.
we shy away at this point a little bit from specific volunteer lists at the city because we just don't have the capacity as staff. But we do have email lists. We have our monthly. We have weekly emails that people can sign up for, and they get the city business, like the news. And then we also have a monthly newsletter that we put out. So, yeah.
Maybe on our end, if we're tabling at the market, we could have a sign-up sheet, like give your
Yeah.
contact information so that we can communicate.
Yep. Yeah, it's really easy too for people if they have their phones. Like, you just need to have the information on how they sign up. It's very easy.
Well, I see a few approaches. Like I like the adopt a park, where people can buy into their park. get to know. I like the roving group idea. But then there's also kind of the people the guerrilla gardeners who don't like to go out in a group, but if we had sort of a task list that they could pick from, like choose your own adventure, like someone maybe we have a certified arborist who wants to, and there's someone who could tackle the tree issues, maybe someone, and so they can sort of align their interests and move out, but to have like a punch list and to have some sort of recognition, so you when it's completed, you get the green check mark next to it and your name, and it's almost like a game.
I like it. I like the choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
Different ways of going at it.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna,
We wrote Brad and Philomath News in on all this too to send it out.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yep, let me check in with Public Works and then we'll continue our conversation about it, see what we are and aren't able to do. Okay. Okay. Do you wanna move on to number 3, Yvonne, and ready for that?
Yes, if everybody else is ready to move on.
Okay.
Future discussion items.
Well, I'm still on the business. Park Advisory Board,
Oh, I'm sorry.
municipal code, it's okay, it's all right. Okay,
I'm always looking ahead.
it's good, it's fine. Yeah, I like it. So I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read this. I don't intend for anyone to make decisions this evening, especially since Larry is gone. But I did mention, I think at the last meeting, about potentially recommending some code changes to the council for the Park Advisory Board municipal code. And so I have in here, attachment A is just as it sits now. Attachment B is our suggested changes from staff. And then the attachment C, if you just want to read through those changes without the chaos. But if you look at attachment B,
I don't think I got one.
you probably, well, we have it.
Agenda?
You look at attachment B. I forget to double on billing officers. You will kind of see where most of the changes were made. So a lot of these are in response to things that have come up since I've been here.
I noticed.
As a staff person with this board. So they're just things that come up repetitively and people say, what does that mean? And we keep bringing this back, trying to come back to it and interpret it for whatever the situation is. So one of them is in the composition A, unless with the approval of a majority of the city council is added to the 3 consecutive terms. There's been questions about that. We've had some staff members, I think Lindy has been on here consecutively more than 3 terms, but it has gone through the full council process and through we opened it up for people to submit applications. So I think that's just adding and kind of it's saying what we actually do so that people know that's what we do. If someone wants to serve more than 3 consecutive terms, we do have a process with our boards and committees and the city council and the mayor. And so that's just kind of referencing that.
Is that instead of having somebody apply when the 3 terms are up?
No,
It can be done in
yeah,
advance?
generally, so this statement allows the council, us to follow what the council currently does. So if the council changed their process, we would have to change our process. So this just sort of says whatever the city council is currently doing. What they do currently is, like for in Lindy's case, it would have been, I think, a 4th consecutive term maybe. So they opened it up for applications and then they'll consider the application. So in that case, I think we had,
There's an open spot.
there were 2 spots, I believe, and we had 1 other applicant,
Right.
and then we just had no one else apply besides Lindy. So at that time, they did say, yes, we would love for Lindy to carry on. Sometimes though, in no disrespect to the people who've been serving for a long time, but sometimes they will, if there are more people, they'll take that opportunity to have new
Absolutely.
members come in.
It
As
just-
Lindy's, you said that at the time, like if there's anyone new, please let them
Happy to
have a
do that.
chance. Yeah, so that's typically the way that they do that currently. Yeah. Okay, and then down in 2.55030, that was labeled as duties. That's been moved down, so now that's been, or it's just, I kind of separated the sections. Officers, so that was also, has been a question, so when I got here, there was just a chair, and I don't know, I think that had been the same chair and never reelected since the formation of the board that was here when I was here. So
What's his name?
it was Dale, so then it was, best practices on any kind of board or committee is at some point on a sort of regular basis is to ensure that the board as a whole it still feels good about that, and that person still feels good about that. So we've kind of written this in here, and this is what we've been doing at the first meeting of each calendar year, that there's an election for chair and vice chair. And then it has like some language about if that were to become vacant, what would happen. And then that a majority of the park advisory board could remove the chair or vice chair. That rarely happens. That language is if, let's say you have a chair that's literally never here, or you have some kind of an issue that you feel that you need to recommend to that person. Typically it's if someone just weren't here and we're not in good communication with them, or they're not showing up. It does give you the ability as a board to say, you know what, you were great job while you were here, but we do need to have a chair that's here, so we're going to move on.
Sarah, on that, do you think that should say the chair or vice chair?
The chair.
I thought it's like they
yeah,
have
or.
to be removed together. So
Yes, or. Yeah, that's taken language from other cities, not reading through it. Then the duties of the chair and vice chair were added. So again, like sometimes that's been a question, as it actually has often been a question. What are the duties of the chair and the vice chair? So that just kind of says this is what the chair does. Vice chair fills in if the chair is not here, as Yvonne is doing. Okay, and then the duties section was moved down, and this was updated. We really don't report to the Public Works Committee any longer. Everything that the board is reporting has been directly to the City Council. So the Public Works Committee, for those of you who don't know, is made up of 3 city councilors. And it's kind of a work committee. So the council will say, hey, Public Works Committee, we think this sounds like a you thing. Why don't you go work on that, come up with an idea, pitch it to us so we can kind of move through that work. And so we really haven't been doing that. A lot of the things that you do are these recommendations to the council for strategic planning or capital projects or a master plan update. And that just kind of puts one more, you basically would have to go to the Public Works Committee, then the Public Works Committee would report it to the council, and it just seems better to go directly to. Now, currently, you really advise both staff and city council, so you'll kind of see that in here as well. So sometimes we're just talking and we're kind of operating on business that the council has said, like the music in the park. The council has said, park board, staff, make music in the park happen. So those are things that we're collaborating on together. What else do we have in there? So those have been replaced. Meetings. The city manager asked to have the language changed to we'll meet at least quarterly. And then additional meetings may be held to discuss time-sensitive subjects as needed. The reason for that is sometimes we have found, it's not been happening so much lately. I think we have had work that we're working on, but there have been times where we aren't actually doing much of anything from meeting to meeting. This will allow us to say, we meet quarterly. However, we're working on this project. Let's meet monthly right now. But then we're not working on anything. It's not great for everyone's time to be meeting. So there are a lot of cities that have some language like this. They're either like every other month or quarterly, and then you meet as needed as you have subjects to work on. Because you are an advisory board, not decision-making per se, so it has a little bit of a different function. And then example of duties, again, that was just kind of updated for who reporting, what to who. And then I did add some examples of things that you do work on, because again, this has come up in the past. What is the function of the Park Advisory Board, the primary functions? You know, and I think it was adequate as it was, but it was very generalized, and this really does give some more credence to the things that you are working on, like coordinating recreational events such as music in the park and helping with the budgetary process, recommendations for council, master plan updates, and things like that. So my intention is that when we come back in August, that if you have suggestions for this, that you bring those. Keep in mind that we do not want to end up writing a book for our Park Advisory Board code. We want to keep it minimal, and the more technical you go, the harder it is when you want to try to work with things. So we do try to keep code language, you know, kind of flexible, as clear as you can for what you are trying to achieve, but still flexible.
So will there not be a meeting in July?
There will not be a July meeting. No. Does anyone have any other questions about that? Okay,
That's great.
all right. Now we can move on.
Staff updates, there's no,
I mean, yeah, I don't have a ton of updates. I think Babs is still kind of going with the
Doing our
skate
thing.
park thing, which is great, as far as skate park goes.
Uh-huh.
So that's been good.
It's been
Um,
slow going, I'll be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
But
that's
we
okay.
are chugging along. We've
Yeah.
gotten we've been to a bunch of community events and gotten a bunch of names. So
Good.
I think our reach is getting out there. It's bringing everyone back together.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important at this phase. I think it's great.
I thought I saw something the other day about somebody commenting on needing a dog park again. Is that something we have put on the back burner?
So we have said that when the park master plan is updated again, that'll be the time that we'll talk about dog park.
I don't think there's room in at the moment.
I don't, but
They need a lot of room for
Very
something
true.
like that. Not just.
I just think that's kind of one of those things, yeah, when you have someone on board who does that, assesses those things for a living, that, you know, they can assess
Okay,
those
that's
things,
good.
yeah.
Did you have the suggestion of the temporary dog park?
Yeah, pop-up dog parks. So that way you can sort of assess, like, so you basically get some sort of temporary fencing, maybe a few thousand square feet, and place it in different
Oh,
parks for 2 weeks at a time.
oh, and try it out. kind of.
Yeah, and so that way you can kind of like assess, is it being used, which location is the most popular, were there issues? And it's something that you could probably just have volunteers help disassemble and reassemble it, and work with Public Works in a truck. That way you can kind of get some real information about.
Well, just off the cuff, I don't think that. It's got the rocks in it.
Oh, Flossie over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's going to work as a dog park.
Probably not.
There's no room in
Yeah.
there to do something.
We'll
Yeah.
skip that one.
Yeah.
And actually the Cochrane Park too.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh yeah, those are too small.
A large grassy, like,
So
park, or Mary's River.
So yeah, it is one of those things that it's a larger strategic planning, future planning, facility planning. So we, you know, the park master plan will come around, and then at that time, that's a good time to address, because we do surveys, community surveys, find out what the community needs and wants are. And I think that that's the way that we'll handle it. And it was I think it was written into the last
Further on down, but
master
yeah.
plan. It is mentioned in there, so yeah, I think that's what we've kind of
So
decided.
I have another kind of a random question. On the east side of town, where they're building all those storage units and all that stuff, where the property ends, that's where there are those lakes essentially, and then the Scout Lodge is beyond that.
Okay.
Does the Scout Lodge own all that property?
I don't know. You'd probably have to ask the city manager on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a little, and that's not within the city limits, is it?
It is adjacent to it, if not. So
Yeah.
yeah, he would know. You can ask
Okay, I
Chris.
should talk to him about that, because that's a really great natural area.
Yeah. Well, it's probably private property, so you would,
Okay.
yeah, that's probably a
I know
consideration.
you can hike there without killing anybody, you know,
Yeah.
but, I don't know who
Yeah,
it belongs to.
he probably knows, because he works a lot in that area, those, developments and
Little
such.
rebel.
Might be Bill Mayer.
He'll make it.
Well,
Pulling weeds and going on walks.
There you go. I'm sure they'd love you to walk there if you pull their weeds.
Marshmallows and.
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's right.
And that
Music
was
in the
a-
Park was there.
Yeah,
The
there's
music and marshmallows. was right there.
Exactly. That was a fantastic program. And it was right next to, well, it incorporated some of those areas because they would have like, looking for things in that area and so on. But anyway, and I don't know who that belonged to. I don't think it belongs to the Scout Lodge, but I'm curious. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll ask.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, I think that's
So-
all I have at this moment.
Board member updates. Is that?
That's any of
Oh.
you.
Staff updates, board member update.
Yep.
Okay. We're still continuing.
Miss Pride is happening on June 15th at City Park from 12 to 4 p.m. We're still looking for volunteers. Our wish list is available on Facebook if you want to support the event. If you don't want, it's an Amazon wish list, so if you don't want to support Amazon, you can just let us know that you're purchasing something off of the list, and then we'll just take it off that list. At City Park on June 15th.
Yep, 4 p.m. Did you say?
12 to 4 p.m.
12 to 4.
Yard games with the Jackson Street Youth Ambassadors. Thanks to a sponsorship from Benton County Health, we'll be able to provide free mud oven pizza for everyone. We have a full entertainment lineup. We have some bands and some comedians that will be performing. We're going to be doing a bingo game and just having music playing, Max Activities, doing arts and crafts, and then a bunch of community organizations will be there too. So. And also, Caesar the No Drama Llama will also be there. So.
That's worth going to. Anyone else have any park related updates?
Wellington's training here
Yeah.
in January. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and I learned quite a bit. It was I thought it was pretty good training. But like one of the materials I got kind of gives you this process. You talk about what is the problem. I don't know that we necessarily have a problem, but trying to apply this to the Parks Board. And then number two is people, like who may benefit or be burdened by the policy, program, or practice. Or this one is probably more important. Who does or does not have access, and who is included in the decision-making process. So I think I learned a few things that we can take to the Park Board. At first I was like, this doesn't apply to the Parks Board, but it kind of does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Equitable process.
yeah. I think, people with handicaps, access to our parks, physical and mental, right? So.
Great. I'm
ask
glad
me
you got
more
to
about it
attend.
if you, yeah.
Okay.
have questions.
We are looking.
I'm not
for
an expert.
The inclusivity committee, if you want.
Right.
Last Tuesday of the month.
More meetings.
Yeah, right.
So last Sunday, I reserved shelter number 2 at City Park. And I wanted to provide some feedback because bathrooms weren't open for us.
Back bathrooms.
Power wasn't turned on. It looked like they had either weed whacked or mowed recently because there was dried grass all over the floor of the inside the shelter.
Okay.
I think there was a birthday party or some sort of party the day before because it was trashed. There was trash everywhere. There was food and all sorts of stuff. It was just not a great experience.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to provide feedback that was my experience as a
So even though you
Park
had
reserver.
reserved it wasn't ready for you essentially.
And I think that's because I believe our caretaker was done right before last weekend.
oh well there you go.
So I
Okay.
think that's, and we are in the process of we have a seasonal that just came on, and we have a seasonal that's hopefully coming on in a couple weeks. So the hope is that they will be able to help with some of that on the weekends. I think they're gonna split the days and try to be here, but
That's a bummer.
yes, yeah, it is. Thank you for the feedback though. I mean, it's important to kind of share why, what can happen.
Yeah, I would be
In
embarrassed
between
if it was
groups.
somebody else that did that. I was like,
Right.
it's Philomath, it's fine. Just sweep this up.
Is there a fee for the reservation?
Not for residents. Or not for shelter number
For
two.
shelter two.
Oh, there is a
For the Randy Kugler, there is. Yeah.
I thought there was a fee for that.
No, and I think Mary's River is the same way.
I think all the other parks are free, aren't they? The ones
I
you
don't
can
know.
reserve?
I don't know that it is if you're.
If
there
you're-
might be a
You have to be a resident for it to be
yes.
free.
I think so. Yes.
Well, I'll update the pirate. I'm working on that. We're gonna have lots of free prizes for people for the Talking Like a Pirate contest and the costume contest. So I've got tickets to Wildlife Safari, I've got tickets to the Newport Aquarium, I've got tickets to Whiteside Theater, and maybe some more, some I can't think of. So trying to bring people in like, oh, there's something I can,
Yeah.
work for.
Yeah.
So
When is it gonna be?
Great.
it'll be September 23rd,
Oh, that's a while, way
Yeah.
ahead.
but not when you're planning.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You understand
Oh,
that.
I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
We nearly had a quorum at the blood drive.
Oh.
Church, yeah.
Wow.
There, you were there.
That's
You were
right.
there.
We're talking about hardcore business when that happens. That's funny. Okay. Are we good?
Is that future discussion? item?
Yep, future discussion.
Yeah, we did have a couple things that were on our.
The future discussion kind of got me thinking that because we don't have a July meeting, we're not meeting till August, the conversation that we had started about being at the farmer's market, potentially talking to the community, that's prime farmer's market time. Would we want to communicate via email or through Chelsea to try and get the ball rolling quicker on that? Or do we want to wait till the August meeting to continue the conversation?
Yeah, we might be able to meet like offline. I can send out an email.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what the needs are.
Yeah.
If you can meet with Gary.
Yes.
And then let us
me meet
know.
with Gary.
And go from there.
I wanted to do some pirate advertising too on that, so I'd be interested in helping run the booth, but I'd like somebody there with me so it's not boring. So anybody that wants
It's
to.
never boring at this market, you watch people.
Rose, you're not boring.
When is the market? Saturday mornings from?
Sunday.
Oh, Sunday.
Sunday from
Oh.
11 to
11 to
11 to 4? Oh, okay. I thought it was a Saturday morning.
no, Corvallis is Saturday.
Well, this is Saturday morning, that's that other.
That's why they have Sunday, kind of.
Gotcha.
Do you already have the What's Up in Oregon tent set up?
What's a Philomath?
Or-
I
yeah.
think so. I think that the council. I think that they've been using that. So yeah, let me just look
Because if
at.
that could be set up for us, and we could go in. and run
Typically,
it.
we don't set it up, so the council is
Yeah, that'd
setting
be-
it up.
that'd be
That's the
great.
stuff that's just inside the door.
Yeah, they're coming in and getting it and setting it up, so they usually get.
Oh.
So we have to
a couple
meet up with
people
the
to help
counselor.
them. If they were gonna merge, but like, yeah, let me reach out and see what's going on with them, and
So we'll do emails about that.
yeah, I'll send an email to have a conversation about that, see if he's interested, and if we can get some things to say. Okay, all right, are we good? Yep. Okay, thanks everyone. Meeting
I
adjourned
I
now.
now adjourn
What's
and
the
you may
time?
officially leave.